So hi, good morning. All good? I know that you have to run from this place to this place. I also didn't have any information that there is a venue change. And I hope that here there might be some disruptions, internet connection disruptions. So, all good? How many of you have seen the paper? Which paper? GS paper. Okay? Good number of you. So, how many questions were there from the history portion? Any idea? You're just able to see one, but I am able to see everything which is there from the notes. Very good. It is very important to note down in the class and to be vigilant in the class that first you need to observe and then absorb. Nothing was out of the what you have written, and you could have written a very beautiful answer. And it's not without fact. Whatever I'm going to say, it is not without fact. So even there are questions which doesn't holds good in the modern. I have taught you in the class. Many of you, I saw that you were jotting down those things, and many of you, majority of you were not jotting down. There was a question I can see, and then I will read it for you. Then, so just wait for it. Now the question is, from being net food importer in 1960s, India has emerged as a net food exporter to the world. Provide support to this argument. So it's there in front of me. Once again, I'm reading. From being net food importer in 1960s, India has emerged as a net food exporter to the world. Provide reasons. From where you could have written this, despite you have not read post-independence, this has already been done in the classes. You tell me that where it has been done in the classes. And you might be thinking somewhere, some of you, and it happens many a times that people might be thinking that why this sort of story or why this sort of explanation is there. There is a deliberate purpose of each and every discussion in this class. And each and every discussion in the class, because once it comes into the exam, when you're out of this institution, then you realize that actually what was done in the class. So that's what I'm saying, that first you observe and then absorb. And rather than going into the judgments, just have a trust and just have a faith in the process. So everything. So you tell me that I just want to know that how observant you were and what you absorbed in this particular one. I'm not talking about the other things. No, not at all. This was not there. You guys forgot the story which I told you about the Green Revolution. Yes, in Punjab, the story Punjab, was it the cry that boon or bane? And then the story which was related to the PL 480 scheme of the US, hybrid seeds, where it is. You have not jotted down. I will not tell you all the time to jot it down. It is up to you that to filter it from the classes and jot it down. That entire story was dedicated 15 minutes in the classes. Now it is there in your paper. And that's not a syllabus of the modern Indian history. Then, so you need to be vigilant in this regard. Now, second question, okay? Just you have completed half the syllabus of this particular modern Indian history. Let's look at the other questions. Done. So give me a little bit of time. So the question was how did the colonial rule affect the tribals in India? It was an easy question. And I'm not the person to claim these all kind of things. It's just about that you must perform better in the exam. You must clear the exam, and that's how. If you clear the exam, that's a benefit from me. So let's go to the other things. Even the culture questions were quite easy. And since the classes haven't happened, so I would not say anything about it, but once the classes happens, so just give me 1 minute. Bring out question number 3. Bring out the socio-economic effects of the introduction of railways in different countries of the world. Haven't you done in the class? That different countries of the world भूल जाओ. जो इंडिया में हुआ था वही बाकी जगह पे भी हुआ था. ठीक है? where you have read about the railways. अभी बहुत थोड़ा सा ही पढ़ा है, पूरा नहीं पढ़ा है, but many places we have discussed the after effect of the railway. Financial imperialism, पिछली ही क्लास में पढ़ा था, अभी बाकी है पूरा कोर्स, ठीक है? So पिछली ही क्लास में पढ़ा था, we talked about the financial imperialism, that is the final stage of the colonization. Then final stage of the colonization, and in which, ठीक है, we have quoted the example of the China and how it has dealt with it, the debt crisis, ठीक है? The finance, through the finances, and then how it has dominated the world. So later on, in the later part of the history, it's not in a jointed manner, but in disjointed manner, many places we talk about the railways. So Mesopotamian rail project of the British, then Nile rail project of the British, it comes into the course. So here you could have started with the financial imperialism, then which we talked about. It was the final stage of the colonization, and in India, the best symbol was the railway. But in reality, when you look at the 55 colonies of the Britain, all the places, railway was the first and the foremost vehicle of the colonization, and final financial imperialism. So just with half the syllabus, you have these many questions. Then these many questions, have faith, and that is one most important thing. And then, since we have already embarked on a journey of writing the answers, so basically writing answers will help you, okay, in understanding the nuances of those questions where you will never get a direct question. Very rarely that you get a direct question. If you are convincing yourself that you get a direct question, so you are making fool of you, that you will never get a direct question. It's only through the things which are there in your notes, things what you are studying, and then if you have gone with a very good answer writing practice, so then you have the ideas from where to extract the information. In fact, there are many questions which can be answered without even reading anything, ठीक है? So for example, that एक question है जिसमें IMO के बारे में पूछा हुआ है इसमें, International Maritime Organization, then so IMO, and then since you have not started with the geography and then international organization, but वो भी question address कर सकते थे. हो सकता है कि तुम्हें IMO के बारे में नहीं पता हो, that International Maritime Organization, but the first part of the answer you could have written easily. Why so? So importance of the sea and its impact on the human society. Then, so its impact on the human society. Now you tell, just a question, very easy question I'm asking to you, that when we talk about the major companies of the world, big companies of the world, Fortune 500 companies of the world, those companies which are in the top 5, what is one very important attribute of this? Because there are many parameters, then many parameters to give them the ranking of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those who do not fulfill that parameter, it's not like that how rich they are. It doesn't make them the Fortune 500 company. There are many parameters, and one of the parameters is the how much carbon footprint they create. So you tell me that normal, बिना geography पढ़े भी बता सकते हो कि सबसे कम carbon footprint किस trade में होता है? Maritime trade, in road trade, airfare trade, maritime trade, ठीक है? So all those companies who are resorting to maritime trade, if all their commodities, if all their manufactured goods, if they are transported through maritime trade, so then they are just reducing the carbon footprint. Then, because sea itself is an equalizer, sea itself is maintains the equilibrium. So at least little bit of part of it you could have written. I'm just giving you one example, and I don't think that, even I'm not expert of the geography, but then I don't think that this paper was anything which you could not have written. It was one of the moderate paper, and in this exam, understand, difficult question pe decide nahi hota hai that your selection would be there. It's always decided on the moderate and the easy questions, that how well you are writing, and always paper is like that. So with this, I'm also very happy. In one of the class last year, there was one book which was released, Rudrangshu Mukherjee, Tagore and Bose. And it was 150th anniversary of the Rabindranath Tagore, and then after many such articles were there. So this book, there are two books of the Rudrangshu Mukherjee which were released, but one which was important, Tagore and Bose. The name of the book is Tagore and Bose itself. It's hardly 220 pages. And then from last 2 years, I'm telling in the class that I have a hunch that there would be a question on the Tagore. Today, since the classes were here, RB21 last year का उसकी class चल रही है उस वाले उसमें. they just came running to me and they said that, "Ki, sir, you predicted, you made a prophecy, and this has come in the exam." And not in all of the batches, क्योंकि book बाद में आई थी, तब तक आधे batches मेरे खत्म हो गए थे. The rest of the batches, I included that comparison on the Tagore and Bose and their nationalism, their education, and even in painting, art and culture classes also, Tagore's approach of the painting, I discussed in the class. So there was one guy, ठीक है, he said that कि sir कुछ लोग mains लिख रहे हैं, वो बोल रहे थे कि sir की class से आया है. It's not about कि I'm claiming कि आया है. जब आप ऑनेस्टी के साथ काम करोगे ना, इंटीग्रिटी के साथ काम करोगे, तो थिंग्स विल फॉल इन प्लेस. एंड इट इज ऑल अबाउट यू ऑल्सो, that if you go with that particular trust and faith, so definitely things will be good for you. So pat yourself that you have started a very good journey, and then you are already on a track. I have seen your answers in your class itself as compared to, मतलब वैसे तो मैं नहीं बोलता हूँ, but as compared to many batches, you guys have written a mature answer then, so that's a good thing. And then I am not going to put a pressure on you, but then I would be having some sort of expectations from you then, so please fulfill it. Then chalo, we'll start with it, and let's see that what all other papers are there at this point of time. So आज तो पता ही चल जाएगा कि क्या क्या आ रहा है. वैसे paper 1 and paper 2 was also okay paper, and even essay paper was very predictable. That in 2021 also paper was like that, and 2022 also paper was like that. So quotation based questions are rahe hain. So chalo, so let's start with the next part. I think the last thing that we discussed was the economic critique of colonialism, but drain theory nahi mention kiya tha. So just give me 1 minute. And this week we have 3 classes ना. ऐसा लग रहा है कि सिर्फ मेरी ही क्लास चल रही है तुम्हारे बैच में. I think sir, no, Jatin sir was on off actually. That's why last week I had many classes. Do you have polity class in this week? कब से है? अच्छा, चलो, so then, anyways, so 22 classes would be there in this week, and then after 5 more classes would be required. So maybe next week, कम से कम एक चीज तो तुम्हारा एक लगातार में खत्म हो जाएगा. That is modern, and it's a very good thing that if one particular syllabus completes in a one go, so at least you have idea that कि इस subject में हमें क्या करना है. So let's start with the drain theory of wealth. Drain of wealth theory, not drain theory of wealth. Drain of wealth. क्या मैं लिख रहा हूँ? Spelling is so drain of wealth theory. So who was creator of this drain of wealth theory? Dadabhai Naoroji. Okay? So Dadabhai Naoroji was the creator of this drain of wealth theory. And moreover, way back in 1867 itself, he wrote that Britain is bleeding and draining India. Then, so he said that Britain is bleeding and draining India. Then, if Dadabhai Naoroji has to say this thing, the best definition was given by one British officer. And who was he? John Sullivan. He was the president of the Board of Taxes, Madras. Then, and John Sullivan, what he mentioned about the drain, he said that our system very much acts like a sponge. I hope all of us know what is sponge. Then, so our system very much acts like a sponge, drawing up all the good things from the banks of Ganges. Ganges here, Ganga. Okay? So drawing up all the good things from the bank of Ganges and squeezing them down to the bank of Thames. Thames is the river on which London is located. So this is what he said, and no other definition defines it beautifully than this one, John Sullivan's words only. So now let's come to that, what were the components of the drain? When we are talking about the drain of wealth, so what are the different components of the drain? So Dadabhai Naoroji was successfully able to trace 3 types of the drain. Okay? 3 types of the drain of the wealth, and these 3 types, so we will see in elaborate way. Very first is called as remittances to Britain, second is called as home charges of India, and third is called as excess of export over import. Now, so one by one we need to see. Very first thing, remittances, and here also we need to have some sort of discussion which is off from the modern. Then, and you will now, already I have told you that there is a purpose. In fact, बहुत बार ऐसा होगा, ठीक है, कि हो सकता है हिस्ट्री में जो पढ़ा है उससे इकोनॉमिक्स के क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लोगे, ठीक है, हिस्ट्री में जो पढ़ा है उससे सोसाइटी के क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लोगे, सोसाइटी में जो हो रहा है उससे हिस्ट्री के क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लोगे. So this will happen, and interdisciplinarity is most important in this exam. So that will help you in fetching good marks. So now understand remittances to Britain. You tell me that what is remittances? सुना होगा, सबने सुना होगा. What is remittance? नहीं पता है? Payment to very good, exactly. So when Indians are working outside India, ठीक है, whatever they are sending to India, that is remittance. Then, so now पहले तो हम ब्रिटिश समझ लेते हैं, and then we'll go into the contemporary times. What is the concept of the remittances? So the remittances to Britain included that those British officials who were working in India, their salaries, their savings, ठीक है, their pensions. So their salaries, their savings, and their pensions, ठीक है, they come under the remittances to Britain, ठीक है. So these all going to Britain. And moreover, this remittance was drain of wealth. Why so? Because when we look at these British who are there in India, they are not getting the payment just because they are very capable and they are very good and they are doing the welfare administration in India. They are not getting this. Why they are getting this payment? Because they are British. They have colonized India. Then, so they are British, they have colonized India, and moreover, just because of their rule in India, they are doing nothing. Then no welfare to Indians, but then they are getting the payment which they are completely sending back to their own country. So this is the remittances to Britain. So in the old world, अब ध्यान से समझना, ठीक है? There is a difference between the remittance of the modern world and remittance of the old world. The old world remittance was an exploitative thing. The modern world remittance is a very positive thing. Then, so now we need to differentiate. Why we are what is the old world? Old world in which the countries were colonized. They were. What is happening? Somebody's phone. चलो अच्छी बात है. नहीं ऐसा कुछ मतलब इश्क के गीत नहीं भगवान के गीत लगाए थे तो so listen, so old world basically the colonized country, and in case of India before 1947. So obviously that what we discussed, that क्यों payment लेते थे, why they were taking the payment? They were taking the payment just because they are the rulers. Then they are not doing any good thing, any benevolent thing to Indians. Then, and each and every policy of the British was shaped according to how Britain will become wealthy. Then, but then when we talk about the remittances in the modern world, can you tell the country which receives the highest amount of the remittance in the modern world? India. What is the amount? Any idea? Current affair में पढ़ोगे. Anyways, हर साल every year it is getting updated. So before the COVID, the remittances, the level was $55 billion. When in 2016, we were getting $55 billion, and now it has surmounted to more than $90 billion. In fact, last year it has touched closer to the $100 billion. It means that large number of Indian expats are working outside India, and they are sending this money. So one can say that when they are sending this money to India from whichever country, so it means that that country is devoid of the resources, devoid of the wealth, devoid of the capital. It is not like this way. Let's talk about it. So can you tell me that from which area of the world we get the highest amount of the remittances? From which area? Middle East. Very good, exactly. So we get highest amount of the remittances from Middle East. From Middle East, from which country? UAE. Very good, exactly, UAE. Then, so United Arab Emirates. And so as at the second position would be the Saudi Arab, and the third position is the Qatar. Then, so let's talk about these three countries. I am taking the recent example, that is Qatar. Then, why I am taking the recent example Qatar? Because Football World Cup was held over there, FIFA World Cup. Now, many of you must be football enthusiasts. You must have watched Football World Cup, and you must have seen those stadiums which were created in the Qatar, okay? The small city of Doha. And these stadiums were that state of art. Then their infrastructure was state of art, and moreover, these stadiums were movable. That if there is any issue, so they can completely shift the stadium and reconstruct within 15 days. Then, so and these stadiums, interesting is it was made with the containers. You know which containers? Containers you must have seen that कि कभी railway से जाते हो तो you must have seen that railway station containers are there. Then, so they were made with the containers. It's a new technology. Now understand that who has built these stadiums? Who has built? Indian labor. There are the labor. Indian labor, Nepali labor, Bangladeshi labor, and Pakistani labor. This is the labor, and Sri Lankan labor. Sri Lankans are not in the labor industry, I would say, but Indians, Pakistanis, and then Bangladeshis. When it comes to these all, then, so in Indians also, there is a regionalistic feature of it. Majority of the labor from India are going from the UP, Bihar, and Rajasthan. UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, some parts of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Jharkhand. These are the areas, and Odisha. So, but majority of the laborers are from UP and Bihar, eastern UP, not western UP. Then, when it comes to Bangladesh, obviously from Bangladesh, large number of people, and from Pakistan also, some of the belts. Then, not all the belts, not from Punjab, but particularly from the area of the Balochistan, particularly from the area of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So, large number of the people, they are working as a labor in these all countries. Now, you must have heard that there were many such issues of the human right violation which has happened in the Qatar. Then, that near about, if you go with the details, so near about 3,000 laborers, they died in the construction of those stadiums. Then, those stadiums. And moreover, one might be thinking that why Indians have gone to, or Bangladeshis or Nepalis have gone to that place. So basically, obviously, there is an income over there. Then there is an income over there, and with that income, if in India, a daily worker, a daily wage worker, if he is getting 500 rupees, so there was a possibility that they are getting 2,500 over there. Then, so 5 times income is there. But their living standards are very bad over there. In one small cell, अभी इतना ही बड़ा room create कर दो, तो इसमें 4 से 5 लोग रहते थे, ठीक है? So this is what is the accommodation which was given to them. But then, they are just looking at the income that they are getting, okay? And that income they are sending back to their homes, and that's how their lives have become comfortable. Though they have suffered, but their family members, their life is becoming little easy. So it is always enticing and attractive to work in those countries, even for a shorter period of time, and they are sending it to India. But then you can ask that if the 5-time payments are there, then if the high wage payment is there in these countries, so why not the people of these countries, they are working over there? The reason is that they are ultra rich. They cannot do this work. Then they are ultra rich. They are sitting on the resources of the petroleum, then petroleum and the natural gases. So they will not go into the labor work. They need the labor work. Then now this labor work has been done. Then after that, stadiums got created. And in a small city, football World Cup was held. You need to understand that what got revived in that small city. First of all, the hotel industry got revived. The food industry got revived. Then after it, their sightseeing got revived. Their tourism industry got revived. And the prices, I also checked. I am also a football enthusiast. I wanted to see the Football World Cup final. And then I also saw that I thought that I would be purchasing the ticket, and the tickets were 4.5 lakh. I was like, nahin, TV pe dekh lunga. So, so you see that this is how. So they earned huge income. And once you have gone, the human psychology, understand, human psychology is that if you have got a good experience at one place, the human psychology is that let's go back to that place once again. If something good has happened with you, let's go back to that place once again. Then the very first place where you dated for the very first time, then you are always very nostalgic about that place, that let's go to that place. We met here. Then, so this is how the human psychology works, that now their tourism. So Doha, which was not a tourism place, now it has emerged as a tourism industry. Let's come to UAE. When we talk about the UAE, it's a desert. Then it's a desert. And moreover, in UAE, as you know, that full form is the United Arab Emirates. Then Emirates stand for the states. Then in India, we call state, they call Emirates. And what kind of Emirat? The monarchical Emirat. So there are 7 Emirates or 7 states in the UAE. And these Emirates, their capital is Abu Dhabi, but the richest city, not only the Abu Dhabi, but also Dubai. Then, and when we compare the Abu Dhabi and Dubai, Abu Dhabi has oil, but you know, Dubai has no oil. No oil. They don't have even that much oil to support their daily needs. Then, so Dubai has no petroleum. But then you look at the World Tourism Ranking. Then World Tourism Ranking, a city in the ranking is on number 4, and that city is the Dubai. Why it is possible? It is possible because the man-made wonders in the Dubai. Then, so what are those man-made wonders? It is the city of the skyscrapers. Then, and the modern city of the skyscrapers. What are the other cities of the skyscrapers? Hong Kong, then, and New York. So Hong Kong, New York, they are the other cities, and Singapore also up to a certain extent. Then, But then Dubai has emerged as a new city of the skyscrapers, and in fact has emerged as the city of the wonders. Then which wonder? The tallest building in the world, Burj Khalifa. But then there are many. It's just one, but then there are many. And moreover, if you look at the city, so it seems insane that how come these high buildings have been created? Who has created? Is it being created by the machines? No, human beings. And who are these human beings? The labor from eastern UP, Bihar, Odisha, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. Then, so they are the one who have built this area. What if they are getting 5-time payments as compared to India? But then Dubai is getting the benefit because it is on the number 4. It sustains. Then, in COVID crisis, tourism was badly hit. 2-3 years, people were not going to that city. Despite that, it was able to sustain. Why so? Because of their tourism had hell lot of money. And then later on, last year in 2022, 2020, in the end of the 2021 and then 22, they held the World Expo 2020, okay, which was to be organized in 2020, was deferred for next year, and it is one of the biggest event in the world which happens after 10 years. So they successfully organized it, and which further attracted large number of the tourists from the world. But then, if you want to know, so you just type in that World Expo 2020 Dubai, and then you'll get to know more information. You just look at the premises which were created by the different countries of the world. Who created these premises? Labor from these countries. Then, so if they are getting some extra payment, it is not a much benefit to them, but it is much benefit to Dubai. And much benefit to Dubai in the form of that attracting the tourism over there. Then, so just understand, people of the Dubai or Emirati people, if I tell you the composition of the population of Dubai, total 1 crore population is there. During the COVID time, it was 98 lakh. It's right now, it is 1 crore population is there. Out of 1 crore population, you know how many are Indians? How many are Indians? 47% are Indians. Then 47% are Indians, and now as it is, the reports are coming, it has increased to 56%. Only 14% people are Emirati. Only 15% people are Emirati. 16 to 18% people are from Pakistan. 7 to 8% people are from Bangladesh, and then 5% people are from Philippines. Then exact data I am giving you. Then, so this many people are from these areas. Now understand one more thing. Majority of the people from the Pakistan, they are in the services of the driving. Then they are chauffeurs. Then that people from the Pakistan, and particularly from the Peshawar area, and particularly from Punjab area, they are in the chauffeur services. People from Kerala, they are majorly operating the stores, and they are in the nursing industry. So there is a very good population of Kerala in Dubai. I hope you must have heard about one group, Lulu International. Then it is an Indian person from Kerala, and he is operating some of the big malls over there. Then in fact, with this name in India also, he has created many malls. Then, so, and he has a very cordial relationship with the Dubai ruler. Then, so Keralites operate stores over there. Filipinos, since they are very good in English, and Keralites are also good in English, so they operate the stores, and Filipinos mainly operate the stores in the malls which are there. Then when it comes to the labor, so labor is mainly from the eastern UP, Bihar, then these all areas, and Nepal also. And Bangladeshis, then, so they are the domestic help. Then this is exact thing I'm telling you, why domestic help, they cook better. Okay? So this is how the composition is there, and Emirati people just 14%, so they cannot do the labor work. They need the people from outside world. That's why if they are giving good money to them, so it is for their good. So now understand, in the modern world, remittances are the win-win situation for every country. The source country also, the source country also, and the country to which it is going, for that country also. It's a win-win situation. But remittances in the old world is not like the way. Okay? What infrastructure British created for us? Nothing. Okay? It was just a, ek Hindi mein kahavat hai, oont ke muh mein jeera. That was the situation that British have done to us. That when they left India, so we were in the ruins. Then we were in the ruins. We were on the verge of the hunger, malnutrition, bankruptcy also we can say. Everything they have looted. So was that remittance helpful to India? It was a deliberate loot from India by the British authority. Now I hope you understand the differences between the two remittances. Then, so let's come to the second part, home charges on account of India. What is home charges? So एक बार ये समझना that what is home charges. Home charges are basically that there were many expenses of the Indian government which was happening in the Britain, and they were charging it from the Indian revenue. So let's understand with the examples what are there. So first of all, that many acts and commissions we have discussed till this point of time, and आगे भी हम discuss करेंगे 1858, 1909, then sorry 1858, 61, 1892, then 1909, 1919, 1935. These all acts कहाँ पे बन रहा है? Where it has been made? Where it has been passed? British Parliament. For deliberation and discussion, for one bill to be created, there would be more than 50, 60 discussions and deliberations. And these discussions and deliberations, are they happening without any expense? So for example, later on we'll be talking about the Government of India Act 1935. Then, जब हम Government of India Act 1935 की बात करते हैं, so that the preparation of the Government of India Act started from the 1924. A committee was created in the Britain for the discussion. That committee recommended Simon Commission. Simon Commission came to India. It toured all over India, and then after Simon Commission, there are 3 roundtable conferences. And after the 3 roundtable conferences, finally, all the information from all these committees and conferences were collated, and then Government of India Act 1935 came. So, is it happening without any expense? कुछ तो खर्चा लगेगा ना? For this all meetings and everything. If Simon Commission is touring all over India, so there is an expense. So that is the home charges to India. Okay? The second thing, suppose if the British Prime Minister, okay, not British Prime Minister, छोड़ दो उसको, ठीक है, British King, ठीक है, British monarch, if he is visiting India, in 1911, King George V, he visited India, and Delhi Darbar was held in 1911. Delhi was decorated like a bridegroom. Then that such was the preparation, that every slum and everything was covered, just like many a times happens in the modern time also. So everything was covered, and Delhi was beautified in such a big way. Then these all expenses, just to welcome the King George V, it is happening from Indian revenue. Then moreover, आज के time से अगर जो compare करें, if we are comparing, so suppose, not suppose, G20 में all these delegates who are coming to India, then 400 rooms were booked for the US President. In which hotel? Sheraton, Marriott Sheraton. Then in Marriott Sheraton, it was booked, 400 rooms were booked for him. Then these 400 rooms payment will be done by the US President, Indian government. Then, so these are also the equivalent to the home charges. Then, moreover, there are many civil and military stores which were provided for India in Britain. Then, that is also coming in the home charges. The railway loan or the investment which has happened, the interest which is going to Britain on the railways, then this is also home charges. Okay? So the loan which has been taken for the development of the railways in India, the interest which was very exorbitant, it was also going to Britain, that is home charges. So these all are the home charges. I hope you are able to understand. Okay? So एक बार लिखो थोड़ा सा. Components of the drain. Components of the drain. नहीं, पहले तो दादा भाई नेरोजी भी नहीं लिखा. You haven't written a single word today, ना? Discussion ही चलता रह गया. तो start with, right? In 1867, 1867, in 1867, Dadabhai Naroji called Britain is draining and bleeding India. Britain is draining and bleeding India. Then mention later President of Board of Taxes Madras. Later, President of Board of Taxes Madras, John Sullivan. Then explained the drain. Then अब इसमें लिखो explained the drain. In this you write our system, in quote unquote you write our system very much acts like a sponge. Our system very much acts like a sponge, drawing up all the good things, drawing up all the good things from the banks of Ganges, from the banks of Ganges, and squeezing them down, and squeezing them down to the bank of Thames, squeezing them down to the bank of Thames. Full stop. Then change paragraph, and after unquoting, change paragraph, mention Dadabhai Naroji. Dadabhai Naroji was the high priest. Dadabhai Naroji was the high priest of drain theory. High priest of drain theory. Then mention he was able to trace three components. He was able to trace three components of drain from India. Three components of drain from India. Done? So now let's come to the next one. Acha, I just wanted to add one thing in that railway question. बहुत simple logical way में कर सकते हो बिना कुछ पढ़े हुए, बस समझना इस बात को, ठीक है? The railway question एक बार फिर से मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, ठीक है? Bring out the socio-economic effects of the introduction of the railways in the different countries of the world. Then, so when they have asked about the different countries of the world, the intention was same. Then, वो intention part लिख लोगे. But then I'm just asking few questions to you. So whenever you go to buy something from a store, not something, buy clothes from the store. Then, and if you want to buy a cotton cloth, then, so can you tell me that the best quality cotton? That and the shopkeepers and then those big brands, what they maintain कि सर ये ले लीजिए, ये यहाँ का cotton है. What is the name of that cotton? Which area? No idea? Which one? नहीं, कैलिकोज नहीं, ऐसा कोई दुकान वाला नहीं बोलेगा तुमको. Egyptian cotton. Haven't you heard about it? Egyptian cotton. चलो, it means that you are not going to stores nowadays. Then, ठीक है, जब selection हो जाएगा तो जल्दी जल्दी जाना, ठीक है? दो चार मेरे लिए भी लेके आना. So, so now, when you enter into any cotton store, so what they will be telling you, Egyptian cotton, ठीक है? Egyptian cotton. One of the best quality is the Egyptian cotton. The reason is that Egyptian cotton has a very long thread, and the thread which is created from the Egyptian cotton, it is very strong. So the best quality cotton is the Egyptian. Then the second best quality is from Morocco, Moroccan cotton. And in fact, nowadays many brands are there, apparel brands are there. So if you enter into these all brands, ना सबको UPSC की नज़र से देखो कि कहीं से कुछ भी information मिल जाएगा. Then, so for example, there is this big brand Zara. Then, and this is not the exact pronunciation. It is a Spanish brand. It is called as Tada. Then, yeah, that's the pronunciation. But then we call it Zara. So if you enter over there, you will see that majority of the products are made in Morocco. Then made in Morocco. So Moroccan cotton is also one of the finest. Then now when we look at these all country, and in fact in the Iraq also, the cotton is very fine. Then Syria also, the cotton is very fine. And when we talk about Iraq and Syria, and the entire Levant part, Levant is Syria, Lebanon, then and Israel and Palestine, Jordan. So this is Levant area. So when we look at this all area, so in Levant, one of the finest cotton is there. And what is this? Mesopotamia. When we talk about the civilization, so this entire area was the Mesopotamia. Now we look at the British endeavor at this point of time in all these areas. In Egypt, what is the valley? Name of the famous valley? Nile River Valley. I hope all of us know. Okay? Nile River Valley is one of the most fertile valleys, and it is known for the cotton cultivation. You know, all these places British introduced the railways. Okay? In fact, I'll tell you one interesting fact. The Mesopotamian rail project, which is in Iraq and then going till the Syria, it was made by none other than the Tata Steel industry. Then British, during the World War I, they have given this particular task to develop the Mesopotamian rail project to Tata Steel industry, because in World War I they were fighting, so they cannot give it to the British industries, then which were in the that Britain was cut off from the industrial production. So it was their majburi, Hindi mein bolunga, theek hai, that it was their majburi to give it to Indian company, and that's how Tata Steel Industry was given. So the objective of all these rail projects is to extract the raw material, theek hai, extract the raw material from that place, theek hai, devoid those country of the raw material, that is cotton, and once it is devoid, so what about the industries which are there in those countries? Industries were there, the indigenous, in India also, indigenous industries are there. They were in the nascent phase, but then it has produced an unequal competition, whereby the British industry are getting all the benefits, and Indian industry, to get a single piece of that little bit of piece of the cotton, they will have to pay hefty amount. So unequal competition, and unequal competition is leading to the socio-economic. सब चीज question wise है, सवाल पूछते रहो एक के बाद एक, what it would have created. So when suppose I am operating you are operating an Indian industry of the cotton, done, and if you are buying the raw material on a very high level, so what you'll do, workers को कितना payment दोगे, ज़्यादा दोगे या कम दोगे? You will be giving them very less payment, then, and when you will be giving them very less payment, so their hand to mouth existence will happen, okay? They will be exploited. These all things, if you ask a kind of a question at each and every stage, so then you will be able to write an answer, and nobody will stop you from getting out of 12.5 mark. अगर जो बहुत कुछ भी नहीं पता है, तो कम से कम 4 नंबर तो मिल ही जाएगा. Where you are going to get nothing, you will get 4 and 4.5. So, but देखो ये इतना easily नहीं होगा. I am able to tell you because obviously there is experience and there are the things which have gone. But believe me, if you keep on writing your test, and then in your classes I have incorporated many mains questions also. So we'll go ahead with this. That will be incorporating mains question. We'll be having some sort of discussion. You keep on writing mains question, and slowly अपना ही दिमाग, तुम्हारा ही दिमाग limitless है. वो तुमको खुद suggest करेगा that how you will be writing and then how good you will be writing. Okay? So let's come to this part. So first one you have written. He was able to trace 3 components of the drain. So number 1 you write remittances to Britain. Remittances to Britain. So somebody has written, Supriya, Pima cotton. Yeah, nowadays it has gone into the underwear industry. Yeah, I'm not joking. This is what is the reality. I have a good knack of seeing the things, observing the things in the market. So it's a good for the underwear industry, Pima cotton, and one of the very good quality cotton. So remittances to Britain, you mentioned, it includes payments, salaries and savings of British officials, salary and savings of British officials in India, which they are sending to Britain. देखो इसमें पेंशन नहीं है, मैंने गलती से पहले बोल दिया था. Pension would be in the home charges. ठीक है? So this could be a possible question in the prelims examination, that which are the components of the remittances and home charges. So home charges में pension would be there, but saving, salary and the other payments are there in the remittances. Then second you write number 2, home charges of Indian government, in Britain. Home charges of Indian government in Britain. Then in this you write, it included the expense of Indian government in Britain, payment of interest on the Indian public debt, including railways, then pensions and allowances to European government officials, comma, cost of military stores, cost of military stores provided to India in Britain and other charges on account of Indian government in Britain. Then, so this is the home charges. Number 3, लिख लो and then I'll go into the explanation. ठीक है? So number 3 you write an excess of EXCSS. My pronunciation may go haywire sometimes, I know. So an excess of export over import, for which India got no economic or material return. Then excess of export over import for which India got no material return. Or no economic or material return. This is what I said. Then, so now listen. This is very intriguing. Generally what happens? That when we look at any economy, when more export is happening, so it is considered as good. Then if India starts exporting more goods, more things to the world, so then it is considered good for the India. But here what we are saying, excess of export over import for which India got no material or economic return. Why so? It all depends on the material of the export. Now understand very carefully. Okay? Here also the current affair thing I'll be incorporating. Then, so when we talk about the export, and export depends on which commodity. Either it would be the raw material or the manufactured good. Then China today, it is the biggest exporter in the world. It exports to all the countries in the world. In fact, US is also dependent on it. Then India, we do have a very that negative balance of trade with the China, okay? And almost it comes around 70 to 80 billion dollars. Then that such is the trade deficit with the China. So China is the biggest exporter in the world. But the question is what it exports, raw material or manufactured good? Then so China exports manufactured good. Then when we talk about the India before 1947, what was exported from India? Raw material, cotton, okay? Coal, iron, then all the other minerals, manganese, chromium, cobalt, then mica. So these all were exported from India. Then all the raw material, silk, raw material, okay? Jute, raw material, okay? Indigo, raw material. So India was made the exporter of the raw material. Then, and some of the raw materials are non-renewable resources. Then like coal, like iron, non-renewable resources. Then, so when these are exported to Britain, so what will happen? Future generations would be deprived of these resources. Then, and moreover, raw material का cost हमेशा कम होता है, ठीक है? Than a manufactured good. Then obviously manufactured good would be costly, and there is a huge difference. So for example, you tell me that last day, today is 17th of September. So 15th of September, as there are many enthusiasts of the iPhone then and Apple's things. So iPhone 15 was launched. Tell me the cost of the production of the iPhone Pro versions. Guess karo. ठीक है? 40,000. ठीक है? It is just 16,000. Just 16,000. This is the cost of the production. What is the cost of the 512 GB? 1,64,000. 10 time appreciation. So you see that the raw material which has gone into the production, उसका cost 16,000 है, but manufactured good जब निकल के आया तो 10 गुना price हो गया. This is what is one example. Then, so this is how China gains benefit. Then, on the other hand, India, all the raw material is exported from India. It is going to Britain. Then it is going to Britain to support their industry. एंड हमें मिला 1 रुपया और उन्होंने कमाया 10 रुपया, ठीक है. सो दिस वाज व्हाट वाज हैपनिंग. नाउ अंडरस्टैंड, I'll give you the example of the China. It's a very intelligent country. See, no matter that what amount of distrust they do have with India and what kind of rivalry we do have with them, but then for their own people, they are best. Okay? And they operate their policies according to the good of the people of the China. So for example, China, when we look at India and China, one of the biggest reserve of the coal then is in India, and so as in the China and Australia. Then these are the three countries. Then so biggest reserve of the coal, India, China and Australia. Similarly, when we talk about the biggest reserve of the iron, so India, China, okay, and so as Australia. Now what happens that when we look at India, so first of all, before 1947, India, all that a very good amount of the iron was exported from India. In fact, you know, the best variety of the iron is blue dust. Have you heard about it? Then blue dust is the, in steel industry, blue dust is the finest iron, and it is majorly that we get it from the Goa area. Then and some ranges of the Karnataka, Kudremukh. Then so blue dust is the finest variety, and this finest variety, since it is costly, so the countries like Japan and the other eastern countries, they have purchased a good amount of the blue dust from India. Right now, what is the situation? We have very less blue dust in India. Then, and moreover, India, after its independence, it did not give a food of thought to kind of preserve its non-renewable resources, and we kept on sending these all raw materials to different parts of the world, including China. So look at the trade deficit of India with the China. This is coming around 70 to 80 billion dollar. Majority of the export item from India to China is basically the raw material. Then and majority of the import item from the China, majority nahi pura ka pura import item from the China is manufactured good. And the interesting, the laughable stock is that before 2000s, the scene was that India was even exporting blue dust to China. Right? And China has one of the finest reserve of the iron and coal. Right? But they are not touching their own resources. They get it from India. Whenever it comes to balance the trade deficit, they say that you export more raw material. And then one more with Australia. They don't touch their coal resources. They had the agreement with the Australia. Australia was providing the coal. When the COVID happened, Australian Prime Minister at that point of time, he lambasted on China, and then after, he broke the deal with the China on the coal agreement, and that deal was given to the Indian group of Adani to extract the coal from that area. And then after, Chinese Foreign Minister, Chinese Foreign Secretary, he made a statement, and very arrogant statement and very extreme statement, which is not welcome in the diplomatic world. He said that those who raise eyes on China, their eyes would be gouged out. This is what his statement, it must be there on the YouTube even till this date. And this statement was completely veiled at Australia. Then, so they were not touching their non-renewable resources. They are buying it from the world. They are very intelligent that they will buy raw material from the world. They will create a manufactured good and they will sell it to the world. Then, but then if you were there in 2021 and 21 ही बोलूँगा, ठीक है? In the end of the 2021, there was a crisis of electricity in Delhi. I hope you must have seen. Even in the posh areas, the road lights were off for entire 1.5 months. So why was this? Coal crisis in India. Highest reserve, and then there is a coal crisis in India. Then why so? क्योंकि 2 साल में नहीं coal हमने बाहर भेजा है, ठीक है? From last many years, we have actually exhausted our coal resources. Then, so this is what is one problem, and this is going back to the British times. Then, that they have exported all these raw materials from India, and then manufactured good was coming to India. I hope you understood this part. Then, so mention already you have written this part. So for which India got no economic return. एक थोड़ा सा ऐड करो, ठीक है? The major commodity of the export, was raw material. The major commodity of export was raw material, and on the other hand, imports were manufactured good. Then So the concluding lines we'll be writing. So एक fact है उसको लिख लो, change करो paragraph and then you mention according to the nationalist calculation, according to the nationalist calculation, the drain amounted to one half of the government revenues, more than the entire land revenue collection, and over one third of India's total savings. Over one third of India's total savings. Then, so have we mentioned the name of Ramesh Chandra Dutt earlier and his book? So in his, what is the name of his book? Economic History of India. And one of the major theme in the economic history of India was drain theory. So there is a one more quotation of sorry, R.C. Dutt. Quotation लिख लो, ठीक है? So you write that R.C. Dutt in his book, Economic History of India, R.C. Dutt in his book, Economic History of India, majorly focused on drain theory. And you write his quotation. I have actually a picture in my phone, so that quotation I'm reading to you then. So you write, he protested, mention, taxation raised by a king, says the Indian poet, after comma, says the Indian poet, and then once again comma. Taxation raised by a king, comma, says the Indian poet, comma, is like moisture, sucked up by the sun, comma, to be returned to the earth as fertilizing rain. To be returned to the earth as fertilizing rain. And then write hyphen comma. You understand? Mention. Then, but the moisture raised from the Indian soil, raised from the Indian soil now descends as fertilizing rain. Largely on the other lands, comma, not on India. Largely on the other lands, not on India. Then, so now listen. So this is about the drain theory of wealth, and then these particular, देखो, whatever quotations you have written, most of the time that we think कि ये पूरा याद कर लेना है, ऐसे ही लिखना है. Even if you are able to extract the essence of the quotation, you can write it. There is no problem in it. It's not like that exactly you need to write the same thing. But I will be telling you the same thing, the exact thing. But then if you are able to write the essence also, that's fine. So now understand, there was one great merit of this economic critique of the colonialism, okay? Because it has a great political merit of being understood by the nation of the peasants. Then, see, we are not going to talk about that, we are not talking about the nitty-gritty of it. कि ये जो यूपीएससी वाले एस्पिरेंट हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं, दैट व्हाट आर द कंपोनेंट्स एंड दीज ऑल, द वेरी सिंपल अंडरस्टैंडिंग दैट पीपल आर एबल टू नो कि कुछ तो हमारे साथ हो रहा है, दैट इफ आवर इकोनॉमिक सिचुएशन इज गोइंग डाउन and they are able to see that who is becoming rich. So at least this much understanding is there with everybody. Then that British are becoming rich and our economic situation is going down. So this much is visible to them. And this economic critique, when they, the early nationalists, they are confronting the British authority with it, so Indian people are able to understand. And it can also be said that no other idea can arouse the Indian people better than the thought that they are being taxed in the India so that the people in the far lands, they can live in the comfort. This is what is the reality that we often, and this is what we call relative deprivation, that हमसे tax लेके कोई और ज़्यादा अच्छे से रह रहा है, ठीक है? So many a times in current situations also we maintain this kind of thing that we pay the income tax. Then एक बार ध्यान से समझना, ठीक है, इस बात को भी, ठीक है? That many a times we talk about that we pay the income tax, then we pay many kind of taxes. For example, जो income tax भी नहीं pay कर रहे हैं, you are also paying many taxes. You are purchasing a good, then you are purchasing a biscuit packet, you are paying the tax to government. You are purchasing this globe, you are paying to the government. You are purchasing the pen, you are paying to the government. Taxes are there everywhere. And what happens? We are pained when somebody takes a hell lot of loan from the Indian banks and then they default and they flee to the other countries. So then we are pained that हमारा पैसा लेके भागे हैं, ठीक है? That we have submitted this all income to the government, and then these people who have been given 1500 crore rupees, 2000 crore rupees, and then what they have done, they have defaulted, and they are living in the comfort in the other countries, okay? They are owning the IPL teams, then they are operating, they have big pensions. So this is what pains. Over here also it is, इस time पे भी तो ये difficult तो है नहीं कि people are able to know that they are being taxed so that people in the far lands, and which is the far land? Britain, they must be living in the comfort. So this is how this particular economic critique of the colonialism, it has created further awareness in the society. So mention, you write, पहले ये लिखो that economic critique has a great political merit. Economic critique has a great political merit of being easily grasped, by the nation of the peasants, easily grasped by the nation of the peasants. Then a concluding line लिख लो. So concluding line you mention, no other idea can better arouse Indians, no other idea can better arouse Indians than the thought that they are being taxed. No other idea can better arouse Indians than the thought they are being taxed, so that people living in far lands can live in comfort. That, so this is what is all about this part, and as I must have said to you that this is also the contribution of the moderate leaders of India in the first phase of the freedom struggle. We will be writing this as just one line. The best contribution of theirs was economic critique of colonialism and drain theory of wealth. Then, so now we are done with this particular part. Let's start with the एक छोटा सा topic है regional organization से related, ठीक है? I'm not doing it in the classes right now. I'll give you a handout. Why a handout? Just understand. See, in those regional organizations, 7-8 organizations are there. Only thing that we need to understand that उसमें who is the founder of the organization and objective of the organization and year. So these are prelim specific things, okay? So year would be there, that in which year this organization was founded, who were the founders, and what was the objective of the organizations, okay? So I'll give you a handout by the evening itself, you will get it, okay? It may be और कल की क्लास से पहले मिल जाएगा तुमको, ठीक है? So but that would be uploaded on your platform. तो उसमें फिर हमें जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, because it's highly factual and nothing else is there. But we are completing because कभी भरोसा नहीं है ना, UPSC में prelims में पूछ दिया, ठीक है? So last 10 year में there was one question and which was related to the Landholder Society founded by Dwarkanath Tagore and Radhakant Deb. So that was the question they asked about the founders. Then So straightforward question था, but you know that in factual questions either you know or you don't know. यही होता है कि या तो पता है नहीं तो नहीं पता है, उसमें elimination का बहुत बड़ा रोल नहीं होता है. So now let's come to the very important topic and that onsetter, that is the foundation of the Congress. So start with the title, Foundation of the Congress, Indian National Congress. Have you heard about magic pen? No? This is magic pen. मुझे भी नहीं पता चल रहा कि कब कलर चेंज हो जा रहा है. So, foundation of Indian National Congress. Majorly, magic pens are used in the this cheating industry, and majorly signing the checks. I hope you know कि वो sign कर दो और फिर उसके बाद दिन उसको erase कर देते हैं और वो amount बढ़ा देते हैं, ठीक है? So now let's come to that foundation of the Indian National Congress. So formally we are starting the second part of the, already we have started second part of the syllabus, but then the concrete things from here onwards. So how it was founded? What are the things which have gone into the creation of the Congress? So just understand that right from the 1840s itself, okay, and more after 1858, there was an increased fervor. There was increased fervor in the Indian society to create some political organization. Then, so many such political regional organization came up. Then, as I mentioned, Landholders Society, कुछ नाम बता रहा हूँ, ठीक है? So in between 1840 to 1880, 85, many organizations, regional organization, not all India organization, they came up. And these regional organization, Landholder Society, East India Society of Bengal, East India Association of Bengal, then Indian Association at London, then Bombay Presidency Association, Madras Mahajan Sabha, and Calcutta Presidency Association. So these all organizations, they came up in between 1840 to 1885. All these regional organizations, they were trying to create a political awareness in the society and demanding some political reforms with the British authority. But then, by 1885, it was felt that by the leaders of the regional organization that they are not very effective. Why they are not very effective? Because they are operating in a one such small area. Bombay Presidency Association, only in Bombay. Madras Mahajan Sabha, only in Madras. So they felt that if we want ourselves to be effective, so what we need to create a pan-India organization, all India organization. And if we all would be united, and if we all will be putting our grievances to the British authority in a united way, so then it will be a pressure on them. So with this thought, they wanted to create an all India organization. But in this thought process, the first person or the first people who have taken some initiative, they were Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. They convened a conference of the Indian leaders, and that conference was known as National Conference of 1883. So they invited people from different parts of the country to participate in it. And finally, this Congress organization became a reality in 1885 due to the support of the retired British civil servant Ellen Octavian Hume. So Ellen Octavian Hume. Moreover, the first meeting of this organization was held at Gokul Das Tejpal Sanskrit College at Bombay. Okay? So there were total 72 delegates who participated in this particular session, and Vomesh Chandra Banerjee was the president of the Congress. So after this, there are many discussions that we need to do. The very first discussion, that the rules which were laid down in the Congress. So the rules which were laid down in the Congress for its functioning, and then after, what were some important first associated with the Congress. So very first thing, understand, and then we need to talk about the theory of the safety valve. So very first, that the rules which were laid down for the Congress, it was very first rule, every year, okay, generally, exceptions could be there in some years, but generally, every year there would be one very important session of the Congress, and that session would be annual session of the Congress. Then this annual session of the Congress will generally be held in the 3rd or the 4th week of December. Then 3rd or 4th week of the December. And in that session, there would be election of the president of the Congress. So every year, each and every year, they will be choosing their president. The Congress president would be the most important person in the Congress. Then he will be having all the powers to affect the decision of the Congress or to come up with his own ideas for the progress of the Congress in that particular year. So he is the most important personality. Then the third rule, whichever area this annual session of the Congress will be held, ये ध्यान से समझना, ये बहुत important rule है and इसकी वजह से बहुत झगड़े भी हुए हैं आगे. So the most important rule was that wherever the annual session of Congress is going to be held, the native of that area will not be contesting the president post. So understand, if the annual session is happening in the Bombay, no native of the Bombay presidency will contest the election. If the annual session of the Congress is happening in Calcutta, so no native of the Bengal will contest the election. Okay? If it is happening in the Madras, so no native of the Madras will contest the election. The people from Bombay, if it is happening in Madras, so people from Bombay, Calcutta, UP, okay, Kashmir, they can contest the election, but not from the Madras. So this was the rule. Then there are other things that we need to discuss at this point of time. So can you tell that who was the first women president of the Congress? Annie Besant or somebody else? Annie Besant. Then who was the first women speaker of the Congress? Or speaker bhi chodo. Tell me the name of the first woman who addressed the Congress annual session. This is the right question. Very good, exactly. Kadambini Ganguly was the first person. 1890, she was the graduate from the Calcutta University and she was the first person to address the Congress Assembly in 1890. Why she addressed the Congress Assembly? Because this was the beginning of, or basically Congress wanted to tell that women are also equal stakeholders in the process of the Indian political development. Then, so that's why she was invited and she gave the speech. Then the first women president was Mrs. Annie Besant. But then the question arises, who was the first Indian origin women president? Sarojini Naidu. Okay? So ये इतना clear होना चाहिए. And there were many people who were the Congress, who were holding the position of the Congress for many times. So for example, Dadabhai Naoroji, he was 3-time president of the Congress. So was Jawaharlal Nehru in the later times. He was also 3-time president of the Congress. Many English people were also the president of the Congress, like George Yule. Okay? George Yule, Wedderburn, then. So Hume never became a president of the Congress then, but then many such Britishers or Anglo-Indians, they were also the president of the Congress. So suppose एक question आता है prelims में that which of the following statement related to Congress is correct. If they give you that English people were also the president of the Congress and second statement, English people never became the president of the Congress, so second would be the wrong one. Okay? And then what else I need to ask? Who was the first president of the Congress? This was question in 2016 prelims paper from minority community, from the minority section of the society, or basically from the Muslim section of the society. Badruddin Tayyab ji, okay? So this was question which was asked in 2016. So Congress president se related काफी सारे, good number of the questions related to Congress president do come in the prelims examination. So you must be aware about it, and some of the important Congress session and their proceedings are also very important. Then, so now understand. So this is what is there. Now after the foundation of the Congress, there was a big debate regarding the purpose, objective of the Congress, and some theories were propounded. One of the theory was the safety valve theory propounded. One of the and believer of the safety valve theory was the Lala Lajpat Rai. And then there was one more thing which was maintained by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, that was the lightning conductor aspect. So we will discuss this part later on. First, right. So mention that by 1885, by 1885, all the regional leaders and organizations realized that time has come to create an all India organization, to put forward grievances of Indian community, to put forward grievances of Indian community in much concerted and organized way, in much concerted and organized way, comma, to the British authority, much concerted and organized way to the British authority. Then Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. Anand Mohan Bose convened national conference in 1883. In 1883, where they generated the idea of All India organization. All India organization. Then later in 1885, a retired British civil servant, Ellen Octavian Hume, facilitated the creation of Indian National Congress, by rallying, rally लिखते हो ना, rally में ing add कर दो, by rallying all the major leaders of India behind him. All the major leaders of India behind him. Then behind him, full stop. Then mention the first meeting of Congress was held at Gokul Das Tejpal Sanskrit College at Bombay. Gokul Das Tejpal Sanskrit College at Bombay. Then it was presided by Vomesh Chandra Banerjee. It was presided by Vomesh Chandra Banerjee. Then एक heading लिखो, you just write a heading, some key rules of Indian National Congress. Key rules, ठीक है? So important rules you can mention, ठीक है? And number 1 you write. So point format you write. Annual session to be held in the 3rd or 4th week of December. Would be the most important session. Of Congress. Number 2. Every year, Congress President would be elected. Congress president would be elected, who would be who would be most powerful authority in Congress? Who would be most powerful authority in Congress? Number 3, then, so you write, no native, no native of a particular province will contest, no native of a particular province will contest president election, president election, comma, if the annual session, if the annual session is to be held, if the annual session is to be held in that particular province, in that particular province, then in that particular province. So this is what is the 3 important rules, and these rules will come to the play when the other developments we are going to see from 1905 onwards. Achha, I just did not ask to you guys. So you evaluated each other's copy. So tell me who all have got 6. Raise your hand. Who all have got 6? Nobody. It's surprising then. And chalo, how many of you have got 5.5? Anyone? No one. 5.5. Evaluate किया या नहीं किया है? Handout अभी मिला नहीं है? अरे तो बोलना चाहिए था. Already I have sent the answer to Diksha. चलो I'll ask. I'll ask today. It hasn't been uploaded. Check किया handout में? नहीं किया? कर लिया? In the morning? I'll ask, ठीक है? After the break, I'll ask to Diksha to get it uploaded. तो कल मुझे बताओ that how much you are going to get. ठीक है? So then I'll ask that किसको कितना मिला, and then who has got the 6 or 5.5 or 5 also. This is good mark. 4.5 is also okay. 4 is also ठीक है. And 3.5 अच्छा है. So we'll see that how much you are going to get. ठीक है? Chalo, let's get back to this part. So what we mentioned after it? क्या लिखा है? What is the last line? ठीक है. So the 3 rules we have mentioned. You want to write those parts that who were the first? कादम्बिनी गांगुली वाला लिख लो, बाकी सब लिखने की इतनी ज़रूरत नहीं है. That is a very simple fact, because in the 1917 session anyways we are going to write about the Annie Besant, ठीक है, and Sarojini Naidu part also. Then so that is not to be written right now, but just कादम्बिनी गांगुली लिख लो, ठीक है. In 1890, Kadambini Ganguly, who graduated from Calcutta University, addressed the annual session of Congress. Then mention this address of Kadambini Ganguly was a symbol of participation of women in Indian political discourse. Participation of women in Indian political discourse. Participation of women in Indian political discourse. And they will also be important stakeholders in Indian political reforms. They will also be important stakeholders in Indian political reforms. Then, so let's come to the theories which we need to mention at this point of time. So Congress got created, and after that one theory which emerged, which was called as safety valve theory. And there were many people who believed in the safety valve theory, which includes Lala Lajpat Rai, that he also supported safety valve theory. So what is this safety valve theory? Now understand. So a good number of the people, they started saying that this particular organization, Indian National Congress, was created as a safety valve to the British rule in India. Then they said that to avoid any major clash, okay, or any major challenge to the British rule, and to keep the continuity of the British rule, there was a need to create an organization from which the Indian people can put forward their grievances in an organized manner. Then, and this way, when they are given this chance of forwarding their grievances in an organized manner, so there would be no such clashes like the 1857 revolt. Then, so this is what they said. And Lala Lajpat Rai supported it, that the purpose of the Congress is like this only, okay? That it is a safety valve to the British rule in India. But then, when this theory was proposed, there was a reason behind it. That reason will not be writing, I'll not be dictating, but then understand the story behind it. The story is all related to the Ellen Octavian Hume. Then, and A.O. Hume, and in fact, this whole story is written in one very famous diary, and the name of the diary is the Wedderburn Diary. Then, so in the Wedderburn Diary, these all stories were written. What is this story? It is said that Ellen Octavian Hume, he met a Himalayan Mahatma. Then he met a Himalayan Mahatma, and name of that Himalayan Mahatma was Kuti Humi Lal. Then, and moreover, he was very surprised. Surprise bhi chota word hoga. He was mesmerized by the aura of the that Himalayan Mahatma and the prophecy that he did for the Hume. So they are meeting for the first time, and Mahatma, he gave all the details about the life of the A.O. Hume. He was obviously, anyone would be shocked that how come he knows about me, how come he knows about each and every aspect of my life, that what has happened. So he became a disciple of the Mahatma. Then, and it is said that in Wedderburn Diary, it is written that Hume was convinced by the Mahatma that a very big revolt is going to happen in India. Then it will be much bigger than the 1857 revolt, and moreover, in this revolt, good number of the Indian and British both would be killed. So Mahatma said to Hume that it is your responsibility, and you have the lines of it, that you can avoid this clash. Okay? And you can stop the killing of large number of Indians so as the large number of the British, that both the sides will be losing in it then in terms of humanity. So you have this in your hand, that you can create something, you can do something in this regard. And Hume was so inspired, motivated by this thought, that he started doing these all stuff. He started persuading then Viceroy Dufferin. Then Viceroy Dufferin, and moreover, he persuaded Dufferin to create that, don't create any obstruction in this creation of this one, because it is at the end of the day, it would be beneficial for the British also. So this is how he facilitated. Okay? So we might be having question, ki why a British is facilitating. So this is the reason that he has met then, and this is why the safety valve theory, people started to believe that he is creating it as a Congress as a safety valve for the British rule in India. It must continue in a better way. But then, calling Congress, when it comes to the many of the Indian leaders, okay, they said that calling Congress as a safety valve is like bringing a humiliation to the efforts of the nationalist leaders. एक बार फिर से समझ लो, that the nationalist leader, and particularly Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he said then that calling it as a safety valve organization for the British rule is a humiliation of the Indians. Then why so? Because are you not seeing our efforts, the Indian nationalist effort from very long time, from last 30-40 years, that we wanted to create an all India organization? And then he said that it is very important to enlist the help of a British civil servant. Why so? Because there is a surmountable pressure on us, that, and there is a fear among us, that what if we create the organization and only Indians are there, so what would be the government response? Maybe government will suppress it. Government will not let it to come into the reality. So when Hume is with us, this British civil servant is us, so then the organization can be created. So he went on to say that even if you say that he is a safety valve, but consider he is also a lightning conductor. Then, are you understanding lightning conductor? Because of him, the organization is created. Okay? And what is important? Creation of the organization. Bhale tum safety valve bol lo, but then it is getting created, and after getting created, over the period of the time, we will be demanding the freedom of India. Then, so this is what he has to say. This is what was the theory of safety valve, and then the counter argument of the Gopal Krishna Gokhale, that is lightning conductor argument. Then, so mention question mark करके mention करना, title लिखो, and in title you write theory of safety valve question mark. Theory of safety valve mention. Soon after the creation of Congress, this theory emerged. Which said Hume facilitated creation of Indian National Congress. Hume facilitated creation of Indian National Congress to avoid major clash, any major clash, to avoid any major clash of Indian community with the British authority. Indian community with the British authority. Full stop, then mention Indian community with the British authority, full stop. He wanted to create a safety valve. For British rule in India. He wanted to create a safety valve for British rule in India by creating a platform, by creating a political platform for rising Indian middle class. Political platform for rising Indian middle class, through which they can ventilate their grievances. And British rule will be in continuum. Last में M you have to add, in continue. ठीक है? So British rule will be in continuum. Then mention after it Lala Lajpat Rai believed in the safety valve theory. Paragraph change karo. Mention. On the other hand, many nationalist leaders maintained that believing in safety valve is like bringing disgrace. Believing in safety valve is like bringing disgrace to the efforts of the Indian leaders. Full stop. They mention. They further maintained that there was surmountable pressure surmountable. There was surmountable pressure on them regarding the creation of this organization. Regarding the creation of this organization. If they create this organization without the help of any British official, then there was a possibility that the organization would be nip in the bud. Organization would be nip in the bud. You understand? Nip in the bud. No idea? How many of you have any idea? It's a phrase. Batao? Tell me at least the meaning of this one. Nip in the bud is a phrase which is used. हिंदी में एक शब्द बोलते हो, that's बारिश का सीजन है अभी पे, सिर मुड़ाते ही ओले पड़े. You understand? ये तो सुना है ना, सिर मुड़ाते ही ओले पड़े. या फिर then, nip in the bud is a situation that the flower is just about to bloom before it has been removed. You understand? Meaning that Congress is just created and then only it is suppressed. So this is likened to that situation, that Congress is just emerging, then only British authorities suppressed it. You got it then? So this is what is this phrase saying, that the situation of the Congress would be like nip in the bud. Then before it blooms, it has been terminated. Then, so that was there. Then they said, एक बार फिर से मुझे देख लें दो that what you have written, ठीक है? So it was a long statement. They further maintained that there was surmountable pressure on them regarding the creation of the organization. If they create this organization without the help of the British official, then what is this? There was possibility, not possible, there was possibility that this organization would be nip in the bud. Okay, it's all fine. Grammatically also correct. Then next you mention Gopal Krishna Gokhale further maintained, even if safety wall is correct, even if safety wall is correct, then role of Hume as a lightning conductor, is also correct. Role of Hume as lightning conductor is also correct. Then full stop, then you write. He further said, it was most important to create all India organization. It was most important to create all India organization rather than coming up with the theories, of its formation. Full stop, then you write. In the longer run, this organization can be used for furthering the political, economic and social interest of Indians. Furthering मतलब advancing. अगर जो furthering नहीं लिखना है तो advancing. For advancing the social, economic and political interest of Indians. Then, so this is what is about the theory of safety wall. and then what debate was there at this point of time. So now understand that with the creation of the Congress, okay, Indian freedom struggle first phase starts, and this very first phase we call it as a moderate phase of the freedom struggle. So we'll start with the moderate phase after the break. Okay? And your tomorrow's class will be happening in IAPL house. I hope you know the location. ठीक है? तो पूरे वीक की क्लास आई थिंक इट इज इन IAPL हाउस. ठीक है? आज तो मुझे भी नहीं पता था that it is happening on 34. But then tomorrow onwards, and it will be on 3rd floor on IAPL. Then, what is the name of the classroom that has been mentioned? E. Sridharan. So E. Sridharan is the class which is in the front of the road. ठीक है? So now we'll start with the moderate phase of the freedom struggle, or the first phase of the freedom struggle. Then, so remember, syllabus में क्या mentioned था? When on the very first day we were discussing those things. So in syllabus it was mentioned that in the second part that different phases of the Indian freedom struggle, and in fact in that elaboration we maintained these phases into two parts. One is the revolutionary phases and non-revolutionary phases. Then non-revolutionary phases में भी बहुत सारे हैं. That very first one we are starting with moderate, then after extremist phase, passive resistance, and then after we mentioned about the Gandhian movements, and within the Gandhian movements there are many sub phases: non-cooperation, civil disobedience, individual satyagraha, quit India movement. So these all we listed in the very first class. So now we are beginning with it. Then, so right, a title that first phase of the freedom struggle or moderate phase of the freedom struggle. It's also called as moderate phase. And this phase is from 1885 to 1905. So 1885 to 1905. Now understand. So who are the initial leaders? Some names we need to write in the beginning, that who are the initial leaders of this particular first phase. So basically those names which we have already written in the economic critique of the colonialism, then they are the initial leaders. So as many other people like Surendranath Banerjee, Anand Mohan Bose, P. Ananda Charlu, T. Ananda Charlu, then Vijay Raghava Cheriyar, then G. Subramania Iyer. So these all personalities will be including in the name. Now, why they are called as, or this phase is called as the moderate phase. There is a reason behind it, that the thought process of the leaders or early nationalists of India was moderate. They did not believe in mass movements, and they never initiated any mass movement. First of all, they were of the view that the masses does not have the capacity at this point of time to initiate the mass movement. Then they didn't had any faith in their capacity. What is the reason that why they don't have any faith in the capacity of the masses? The reason is masses are not politically aware. So the very first thing, and it is a very important, though it is a small word, awareness, but it has many connotations. Then, so awareness holds a very important place. In fact, you started preparing this exam, it is not without awareness. You had some sort of awareness. You consulted people, you were knowing about that what positions you will get when you will be clearing this exam, what responsibility you will be holding, what will be position, your social prestige in the society. So you are a little bit aware about it, and then you have taken a considered decision that I'll be investing in this exam. Then, so awareness is most important, and that is the foundation of any movement. So that's why they wanted to create the political awareness, but not to start the mass movement at this particular juncture. Then, so now what they have resorted to, they believed in the moderate methods, and these moderate methods are like prayers, petitions, okay, sending memorials, then, and constitutional agitation, then being assertive about the rights of the Indians, but not bypassing the law. They always worked within the four walls of the law. That means, हिंदी में क्या बोलते हो, कानून की चार दीवारी के अंदर. So they never bypassed any law, and they always tried to work within the four walls of the law. So this is what they have done. Then, what are their initial demands? In the beginning, that what are their initial demands? So can you guess that what must be their initial demands? कुछ थोड़ा सा इंटेलिजेंट गेस करो, एटलीस्ट लिटिल बिट. Political reforms, yeah, political representation. So increase the political representation of Indians in the councils. Now understand, councils we haven't talked till now. When will be before 1909, what I will do, that before Government of India Act 1909 or Model Amendment Reform, उसके पहले का जितना है, starting from the 1858, 1861, 1892, we will do. ठीक है? So just listen for time being. In 1858 itself, when the Queen Victoria's declaration was there and Government of India Act 1858 came, so that time only a 15-member Council of India was created. And this 15-member Council of India came to be known as Imperial Legislative Council. Later on, this came to be known as Central Legislative Council. So this was expanded in 1861, further expanded in 1892, and further expanded in 1909. So Indians, or particularly moderate leaders in this stage, they are demanding more number of Indians, more political representation of Indians in the councils. Then, moreover, not only they are demanding that more political representation of the Indians in the council, but more concrete powers to the Indians. What is concrete power? Then, the power which has some sort of importance. Symbolic power नहीं कि बोलने के लिए कह दिया कि you will have this right, but that right is not there with you. And one of the most important power, they wanted power in the realm of the finances. ठीक है? So they wanted power in the realm of the finances, meaning that they were asking that the powers related to the finances of India must be increased for the Indians. Then there are other demands also. They wanted reforms in the civil services. Then they wanted reforms in the civil services. What was the one major reform that they wanted in 1885? Age. ठीक है? So age was one of the major reform, because Lytton, I think we mentioned that he reduced the age from 21 to 19. Then, and another reform they wanted, exam must be conducted in India. It was still not conducted in India despite the report of the Hutchinson Committee. Then, so they wanted exam must be conducted in India, and they also wanted one more reform, syllabus. Okay? So syllabus must be tweaked so that it suits the Indian environment. The syllabus of the exam was according to the European environment, not according to the Indian environment. Then, so for example, we mentioned Greek and Latin subjects were there. There is no use of these subjects. So they wanted these reforms in this one. Then, can you tell something related to army? Okay? So Tanisha has mentioned separation of executive and judiciary ICS exam held in India. This is what exactly is mentioned in your not NCERT, your spectrum. Okay? And in point format they have mentioned that you can write. Then, but then already I feel that this spectrum particular conclusion is not well thought, because separation has already happened up to some extent, not great extent, up to some extent, but they are demanding the complete separation. Then another thing is basically army mein reform. So they wanted that there must be less investment or less expenditure in the army. This army is totally built at this point of time to serve the British interest, not just in India, but outside India, in the major colonies of the Britain. So Indian people are paying for the army, and these army are fighting and expanding the British territories outside India. So they wanted that expenditure on the army must be reduced, and the money which is there, it must be spent on the institutional reforms in India and welfare measures in India. So there are few more things I'll add later on. So you're right. The initial leaders of India included the names of, so write the names. जो नहीं लिखा है वो वाले names I'm mentioning, and the other names are already there in the economic critique. So you mentioned included names like Surendranath Banerjee, Anand Mohan Bose, Badruddin Tayyabji. Should I write this name? Chalo, I'll mention Badruddin Tayyabji, Firoz Shah Mehta, so in Firoz Shah, start with Pheroz. So Firoz Shah Mehta, Vijay Raghava Cheriyar, Vijay Raghava Cheriyar, next T. Anand Charlu, then mention Madan Mohan Malaviya. I have written triple M, तुम लिख लेना. So Madan Mohan Malaviya, then mention Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, then G. Subramania Iyer, पुराने नाम भी लिख लो because you may forget. So I am writing all the old names also which we have mentioned. M.G. Ranade, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, P.C. Ray, Dadabhai Naroji, most important. Dadabhai Naroji, etc. Then, so now listen. So after these names, so whatever we have mentioned that why they were called as moderate, because their methods were moderate. Then, so you write that the very first phase of the Indian freedom struggle, the very first phase of Indian freedom struggle is referred as moderate phase, is referred as moderate phase because of the methods of the leaders, because of the methods of leaders. Then full stop. They believed in moderate methods like, they believed in moderate methods like prayers, they believed in moderate methods like prayers, petitions, sending memorials, comma, constitutional agitation, and working within four walls of law. Constitutional agitation and working within four walls of the law. Full stop. Moderate leaders didn't had faith in the capacity of the masses. As such, they never initiated mass movement. Rather, they wanted to create political awareness. Among the masses. Which will act as foundation. To the future mass movements. Then once again you change paragraph and then we are going to talk about their contribution at this point of time. So एक फिर से दोबारा सुन लो that there are few things that we have already mentioned. But then Do you have any idea that what was their view on the industrial development of India? Did they wanted industrial development, industries in India? It will be a major debate at the time of the Gandhi, Bose, and Jawaharlal Nehru. But at this point of time, so understand, all the Indian leaders, okay, all the Indian leaders, they believed that industrial development is very necessary, okay, very necessary to for India to come out of the poverty and impoverishment. It is necessary. So they favored the industrial development. But then the question is that how this industrial development will happen. Will it happen on the Indian capital or the foreign capital? So what is their view? Which capital? इंडियन कैपिटल, ठीक है. आई थिंक ये पहले भी हमने डिस्कस कर लिया इकोनॉमिक क्रिटिक में, ठीक है. Not in this way, but here I want to add in that particular part. So they wanted that industrial development of India must happen with the Indian capital, and single ounce of the foreign capital must not be used in the industrial development, because they were very much aware that if the industrial development of India is happening with the foreign capital, so it will lead to the financial imperialism then, and further chains of the colonialism will be tightened in India. So they did not want it. And at the same point of time, they also became very critical to the development of the railways with the foreign capital. Then, so already railway development to 1853 se start ho chuka hai, and the organization is created in 1855. So they criticized the railway development on the foreign capital, and they went on to say that development of the railway, in the words of the Lala Lajpat Rai, okay? Not Lala Lajpat Rai, in the words of the Tilak, what Tilak said, that the development of the Indian railways with the foreign capital can be equally likened to decorating somebody else's wife. Then, so this was his statement. Then, that it must happen. On the other hand, in 1899, Viceroy Curzon, he made a statement that if you want the industrial development of India, so that must happen with the foreign capital. And he made a word, he said that industrial development of India can only happen with the foreign capital, and foreign capital is the sine qua non for India. This is a French word which he used. So, sine qua non for India. I'll write. Not aqua. Sine qua non. Then sine qua non for India. What does it mean? There is no replacement. There is no other alternative. It is the only thing with which it can happen. Okay? So this is what he maintained. But the Indian rulers or Indian leaders, not rulers, they wanted it from the Indian capital. So you're right. Mention. So you start with that. पहले ये वाला part लिख लेते हैं. Rest of the part will be writing later on. Then all the initial leaders of India favored industrial development of India, to come out of the poverty, and impoverishment. To come out of the poverty and impoverishment. Full stop. They maintained this industrial development of India must happen with the Indian capital, and not with the foreign capital. Then mention, paragraph change करो, line change करके लिखो. On the other hand, Viceroy Curzon said in 1899 that foreign capital foreign capital is sine qua non, right? Sine qua non for the industrial development of India. Can you give me the synonym of this word in English? Indispensable. Then, so indispensable would be the synonym of this word. Okay? And some places using the French words or the Latin terms holds good. ठीक है, थोड़ा impression होता है. But then bombardment नहीं करना इन सब शब्दों का. ठीक है, जब बहुत bombardment करते हो ना तो फिर then the examiner will be put off from your answer. Then, but then some words you can use. Then further you write. So फिर से वापस से paragraph change करो. The early nationalists were highly critical. The early nationalists were highly critical of the development of railways, with foreign capital. Development of railways with foreign capital. Tilak. Then mention Tilak said, and here Tilak means Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay? So Tilak said, creation of Indian Railway with foreign capital, is like decorating another's wife. Is like decorating another's wife. Then the early nationalists were of the view. Foreign capital perpetuates financial imperialism. That is the final stage of the colonialism. Then, so this is one part. Then let's look at the other things which we have already discussed, their demands. So as we said that they demanded more political representation of the Indians in the councils, and moreover, they are also demanding more civil liberties for the Indians. Then, so एक बार लिखो. The major demands in this phase included increased political representation of Indians, comma, powers related to financial sector, civil liberties of Indians, relaxed rules for the development of Indian industry, reforms in civil services, for example, raising the maximum age of participation, comma, changes in the syllabus, and simultaneous conduct and simultaneous conduct of exam in India. Simultaneous conduct of exam in India. In India. Done? Then फिर से paragraph change करो and then you write the most important contribution of moderate leaders, the most important contribution of moderate leaders in this phase was economic critique of colonialism. Was economic critique of colonialism and explanation of drain of wealth. Explanation of drain of wealth. इसको underline कर लो, ठीक है? Their most important contribution. So already we have done it. And अब दोबारा से वापस, we don't need to read it over here, write it over here. We have already done previously. So economic critique of colonialism, and this was the question in 2021 paper. Exactly, okay? Contribution of the moderate leaders. So see that whatever that the things that you have written right now in the classes, it would be good enough to fetch you out of 12.5. I can bet on it 7.5 marks. Then, and in fact, your guidebooks have not mentioned in this way that trade, industry, finance, and then these all aspects that we have done in the classes. So, एक बार कोशिश करना that you must write that 2021 paper. You go home today, see that question on the moderate leaders and write the answer of it. Okay? So let's go into the next part. So the very first phase, understand, this very first phase of the freedom struggle, it came to end in 1905. Then, and why? There was one event which happened in the 1905, that is the decision of the Curzon, that partition of the Bengal. So before it could happen, there was one statement of the Curzon. Curzon made a statement about Bengal, that Bengal united is a strength and Bengal divided will fall in many ways. Then, so as you see that till this point of time, whatever we have seen, whatever we have studied, majority of the nationalistic aspirations are developing from the Bengal, and then they are radiating to the different parts of the country. So Bengal was the epicenter of the nationalist movements at this point of time. So this is what he wanted. And moreover, so this decision was already, it was declared in July, okay, in July 1905, and it was effected in October 1905. Then, so Curzon, he announced that partition of the Bengal into two areas, East Bengal and West Bengal. West Bengal is today's West Bengal, including Bihar and Odisha, and East Bengal will include Bangladesh, today's Bangladesh and Assam. Moreover, this division was on the basis of the religion, that East Bengal will be Muslim majority population, West Bengal Hindu majority population. This was the first instance of any such type of division in the Indian history on the basis of religion. Then, so on the basis of religion. And with this announcement, Indian freedom struggle entered into its second phase, that is called as the extremist phase or passive resistance phase or second phase or Swadeshi boycott phase. Then, so ये चारों में से कोई भी नाम, we will be writing all the names. So we need to see that why it is called as the extremist phase and why it is called as a passive resistance phase. So understand that there were many leaders in the Congress at this point of time. They were of the view that till this point of time, last 20 years, what strategy we have followed? Prayer, petition. Okay? So prayer, petition, sending memorial, constitutional agitation. We are not saying that it is not at all useful at all, but then they said that in this scenario, in this new move of the Viceroy Curzon, this prayer and petition will not work. So we need to find out alternative strategy. We need to find some strategy whereby we can create pressure on the British authority. And the people who were of this thought process included the names like the first and the foremost, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, then Bipin Chandra Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh, and V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. So these leaders, they said that prayers and petitions will not work, and we will have to create a passive resistance on the British authority. So because of this thought process, these leaders came to be known as the extremist leaders of the Congress. Now we need to understand that what is this passive resistance. So passive resistance is that they are not going into the violence, okay, but they are initiating a mass movement, and in this mass movement they are not going to cooperate with the British authority. So once they are not cooperating with the British authority, so it will create pressure on them, and then they can think about that their demands must be met. So here we need to talk about little bit more about the Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And in fact, syllabus में अगर जो देखते हो, तो in syllabus it has been mentioned that second part of the syllabus also, and what has been mentioned that important personalities, significant personalities, their contributions, and significant personalities from the different parts of the country, and that's how the questions do come. That Gandhi is a constant in the question. But then there are other personalities. This year Bose, okay? One year there was a this year Tagore. One year there was a Bose. One year there was Ambedkar. One year there is somebody else. So they do ask questions on the personalities. And now I am predicting at this point of time, the next person I'm seeing in the UPSC paper is Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Okay? So he will be asked, and there is a very much possibility that he will be asked in the recent years. So now thoda bahut I need to mention about the Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Just listen about his story. लिखने का काम हम कर लेंगे बाद में. Then, so who was Bal Gangadhar Tilak? Bal Gangadhar Tilak was born in the Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra, and he was born in a Brahmin family of the Maharashtra. But then what happened? That when he was very young, he was hardly 10-12 years old when his father's death has happened, and all the responsibility fell on his head. That he was the eldest son of the family, and from that time only, that he was just 10-12 years old, he has taken the responsibility of the family. But he never left his education, and he completed his education. After completing his education, he became the professor of the mathematics then, and he also studied law meanwhile. He was teaching in the Deccan College of Pune. It is still there then, one of the very famous college in the Pune. And then with the help of few of his friends, they went on to lay the foundation of one of the very famous college of Pune, Fergusson. Then moreover, Tilak, he was very much interested in the political scenario of India, and after the foundation of the Congress, he joined the Congress organization. But then to dedicate his life to politics, he needed to leave the professorship, and he resigned from his professorship. And then he completely dedicated himself to the Congress. Then, in this regard, he also needed to increase his popularity in the Congress and among the people. So from 1893 onwards, he started to celebrate some festivals. And there were two festivals he celebrated, Ganpati festival and Shivaji festival. So these festivals he was organizing in Pune, Bombay, and then he was giving speeches, and people were coming to that place. They were inspired from the nationalism. So that's how he started to increase his popularity. Moreover, what else he did? So what else? That he also released two magazines, and name of these two magazines were, you can say, Kesari and Maharatta. So Kesari was written in Marathi language, and Maharatta was written in English language. So this has further catapulted his popularity. But then, I would better say that his popularity was catapulted in 1897. What is the case over here? एक बार ध्यान से समझना, this part will be writing the revolutionary nationalism, not here. But story सुन के छोड़ दो. So in 1897, there was a spread of the bubonic plague in Maharashtra, and in Bombay actually, particularly. So plague was a dreaded disease at that point of time. There was no remedy of the plague. And at this point of time, when this plague is spread, so similar situation like the COVID restrictions were imposed in the Bombay. And similar se bhi worst tha. What was worst? That people, those who were kind of that in coma, terminally ill, so they were thought dead also. They were segregated from their families. They were mistreated and abused, and for this there were two British officers who were responsible, W.C. Rand and Lieutenant Arst. These two British officers became very notorious, very unpopular. At this point of time in Kesari, Tilak, he wrote an article. In article he was drawing the parallels between Bhagavad Gita and the current scenario of the Bombay. So what statement he made? He wrote about the confusion, the quandary of Arjun in the battlefield. Then, so Arjun in the battlefield, you remember if you have seen the Mahabharata. So when the Mahabharata battle was to start, Arjun is bewildered and then he is asking questions to the Lord Krishna. Okay? That he is saying to the Lord Krishna that how come I can fight this war when my own brethren are there on the other side? Killing of, there is my guru, there are my brothers, then there are my own people. If I kill them, so it will tantamount to sin. Okay? That I'm committing a sin by killing our own blood. Then, so killing my own blood. Then, and this is what in Hindi you say, Pitru Hatya. Okay? So this is what you call that Pitru Hatya. It will be very similar to the suicide of the paternal side. But then Lord Krishna said that you are not thinking in a right way. In a war situation, nobody is a blood. In a war situation, what is there? That this war is all about the dharma and adharma. Okay? So if you are on the side of the dharma, you will have to fight against the adharma. Those who are on the other side, they are on the side of the adharma. And in this, if you kill your own people, it will not lead to any sin. Then, and then he concluded it that if this same sort of situation arises in the society, we must take inspiration from the Gita, that if there is a fight between the dharma and adharma, so killing adharmi, okay, will not tantamount to any kind of sin. Now Chapekar brothers were excited with it, okay, and these three brothers, okay, Chapekar brothers se lagta hai ki do hi brother honge. So these three brothers, they planned the killing of W.C. Rand and Lieutenant Arst. They killed them. That was the first political assassination in India. After this assassination, though Chapekar brothers were not arrested, okay, they escaped, Tilak was arrested. And he was tried in the court. So when he was tried in the court, so basically because of his article that he has written, and it said that he has provoked them. So he was given 18-month sentence then to languish in jail. He was put into the jail for 18 months. But actually this 18 month of Tilak in jail proved to be highly momentous in his popularity. Once he released from the jail, he became the hero of the country at that time. Then, and people started to brand him as their leader. Moreover, after moving out of the jail, he gave a slogan. And what is the slogan? Swaraj is my birthright, I shall have it. Then, so this slogan he gave in Marathi language. Now my question to you, that was he the creator of this slogan? Was he the creator of this slogan? No. The creator of this slogan was actually, in English language it was created, and it was created by Francis Baptist, who was one of the close colleague of the Tilak. So Francis Baptist created this slogan, Swaraj is my birthright, I shall have it. But in one part you are right, that inspiration was Shivaji. The first person to call for the Swaraj was Shivaji. But this slogan was not given by him. Okay? He only called for Swaraj. And then the Francis Baptist in Maharashtra, he was also known as Kaka Baptist, because Kaka is a title given to the very dear people in the Maharashtrian society. So he was called as Kaka Baptist. He gave this slogan, and Tilak popularized the Marathi version of this particular slogan. Okay? So you got it. So then Tilak has, his popularity has increased, and in between 1900 to 1905, he became more popular than any other moderate leader of the Congress. Then, and then Tilak was backed by the people like Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Paul, Aurobindo Ghosh, and V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. Okay? So now there is one more part of the story. Let me complete it. Okay? Because बाद में फिर इतनी continuity में मुझे मिलेगा नहीं. Break में कोई story अच्छी भी नहीं होती है. So second part of the Tilak story is that 1907 we'll be talking about when the split in the Congress is happening, because moderate leaders are not able to gulp the popularity of the Tilak. Then, and there is a split in the Congress. After that split, Tilak would be once again tried by the court and sent into the jail. Second time, once again, he was in jail, you know, for what? Writing only. First time also he went to jail for writing, and second time also writing. What he wrote? एक बार फिर से सुन लो. Once again, revolutionaries of India, Prafulla Chaki and Khudiram Bose. They tried to kill the hated police commissioner of Calcutta, Kingsford, but due to some miscalculation, they killed two British ladies. Then, out of that particular guilt, one of the person, Prafulla Chaki, he shot himself dead, but then Khudiram Bose was captured and later on he was hanged. So, looking at their martyrdom, then that Tilak wrote in the Kesari once again that these people, these two guys, they were not the terrorists, they were martyrs. Then that they were fighting for their own country. It is unfortunate that they killed two British ladies, but that was not their intention. So he justified their martyrdom. Then, and after when he justified, so then British were waiting for an opportunity and they arrested Tilak. Okay? So they arrested Tilak and Tilak was tried in the court. And in fact, the Indian judge gave him the punishment. And what was the punishment? 6-year deportation to Mandale jail in Myanmar. And moreover, this Indian judge was Justice Dawar. And Justice Dawar famed Tilak as that you are initiating sedition against the government, seditious activity. So he charged him with the sedition. And moreover, who was the lawyer of the Tilak at this point of time? Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was defending Tilak, but he was not successful at this point of time. So Tilak was sent to the jail. Tilak was asked that what he wanted to say in his defense. So Tilak said one very profound statement he made. He said that despite the verdict of the jury, ध्यान से समझना, ठीक है? Despite the verdict of the jury, I maintain that I'm innocent. Then, despite the verdict of the jury, I maintain that I'm innocent. Then, there are other higher powers who decide the destiny of the men and women, then, and the nations. So there are other powers which decide the destiny of the men, women, and the nations. Then he says, it may be the will of the providence. It may be the will of the providence that the cause that I represent will be better served by my suffering than by my pen and my tongue. I hope you're able to understand what he tried to say. So very first thing that he said, that is very easy to understand. Despite the verdict of the jury, he maintains that he is innocent. Then second, he says that there are other higher powers. Who are the other higher powers? God. God is saying that who is right and who is wrong. And God will decide that what will be the destiny of British and what will be the destiny of this nation. And then he says, it may be the will of the providence. What is providence? Once again, God. ठीक है? It may be the will of the providence. हिंदी में बोलो तो भगवान की मर्जी होगी. ठीक है? The cause that I represent, and what cause is representing? India's freedom. So the cause that I represent will be better served by my suffering. What is his suffering? 6-year jail in the Mandale, than my pen and my tongue. So 2 times he was put into the jail just because of his writing and his saying. Okay? Not for any of his deed. So this is what he said, and then he went to jail. So he was there in jail till 1914, and he was released in 1914. But once again, when he'll be coming back, he'll be reinitiating the political activity, and then he will launch from 1916 Home Rule agitation. Okay? So let's write few things. स्वदेशी and boycott कल करेंगे, थोड़ा सा अभी लिखो, ठीक है? So any title you have written? Nothing. So title लिखो. Second phase of freedom struggle, or extremist phase, also called as passive resistance phase, and 4 names I am writing: Swadeshi and boycott phase. So all the titles you write, and the timeline is 1905 to 1915. (1905 to 1915). So mention. In July 1905, in July 1905, Viceroy Curzon, in July 1905, Viceroy Curzon announced, Viceroy Curzon announced partition of Bengal, of Bengal on religious line, partition of Bengal on religious line, full stop. East Bengal, East Bengal, Bengal was created with Muslim majority population, and West Bengal with Hindu majority population. Hindu majority population. Full stop. This decision came to force in October 1905. This decision came to force in October 1905. 1905. Full stop. Then further you write after it. With the partition of Bengal, Indian freedom struggle entered into its second phase. ठीक है? Then mention. Paragraph change करके लिखो. At this point of time, many leaders of the Congress called for initiation of mass movement and to create passive resistance against British authority. Then you write, these leaders were popularly called as extremist leader of the Congress. Were popularly called as the extremist leaders of the Congress. Extremist leader of the Congress. Then mention. It included names like Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bipin Chandra Pal, Aurobindo Ghosh, and V.O. Chidambaram Pillai. Then full stop. The most prime representative of this thought was Tilak. Then mention. To increase his popularity, to increase his popularity, Tilak celebrated Ganpati festival and Shivaji festival. Ganpati festival and Shivaji festival. Done. So Ganpati was in 1893 and Shivaji was from 1895. उसके नीचे लिख लो separately, you don't need to write. Then so continuous level, ठीक है, मतलब हर साल 1893 से start हुआ and every year he is celebrating this thing, ठीक है. Then mention he also released two important magazines. So mention Kesari in Marathi language, and Maharatta in English. Kesari in Marathi language and Maharatta in English. Done. Then mention in 1897, he was jailed for 18 months. And after his release, he popularized a slogan. And you write the slogan: Swaraj is my birthright. And I shall have it. Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Then got it? चाहो तो वो जो बताया था मैंने additional information you can write in the brackets. Originally coined by Francis Baptist. Then coined by Francis Baptist. Then so this is little bit about Tilak. 1908 we are not writing. वो इसलिए कि वहाँ तक हमारा टॉपिक गया नहीं है. So this much, till this much, ठीक है. एक last line add करो. Tilak emerged as one of the most popular leader of the Congress. Tilak emerged as one of the most popular leader of the Congress by 1905. And on his request, Congress accepted. On his request, Congress accepted initiation of passive resistance movement. During the annual session of Congress at Banaras. Then, so write a title. So this is the first annual session which will be dealing with. So annual INC session, Banaras 1905. Then so annual INC session, Banaras 1905. Then so the developments of the session we'll see tomorrow. Then and then we'll talk about the Swadesian boycott movement. Basically, they will be giving permission to initiate Swadesian boycott movement. So we'll see the developments of the Swadesian boycott tomorrow. And after the completion of Swadesian boycott, we'll go into the revolutionary nationalism phase 1. So अभी एक side पे एक बार सुनो. Remember, वापस से you go back to see that first classification if you have written in the very first class. What we mentioned, एक side में ये non-violent strategies are there, on the other side violent strategies are there. And in the violent strategy, revolutionary nationalism phase 1, 1905 to 1915. In that, सुन लो एक बार, in that what we'll be talking about, so we'll be talking about different organizations like Anusilan Samiti, then Abhinav Bharat, then the movement outside India also, which will be leading to the Gadar movement. So Gadar movement would be the part of the very first phase of the revolutionary nationalism. So after the completion till 1915, okay, after that completion, we'll further move to the rest of the part, which is basically home rule agitation and arrival of the Gandhi in India. Okay? So we'll start tomorrow with the said topic. Okay? Chalo, thank you.